Alfa Romeo Automobile repairs. If you're looking for help fixing your Alfa Romeo automobile, look no further. Our comprehensive Alfa Romeo Automobile repair guide will explain common issues, provide tips, and maybe show you how to repair your vehicle. Alfa Romeo manufactures cars that owners have come to trust. Even a trustworthy autos require occasional maintenance or repair. However, if you're in need of Alfa Romeo auto repair from experienced professionals, your local auto helper can help. Engine failure. Although very rare, it can also be the cause of the breakdown of your Alfa Romeo. If a vehicle has an engine failure, then nothing works anymore. It is not uncommon for the driver of a vehicle to be responsible for such damage. Typical causes include tearing of the timing belt, incorrect fueling, insufficient oil, hydrolock, overheating of the engine, or continuous driving in an excessive speed range. Only an experienced mechanic can diagnose engine failure in a workshop. Weak battery. If your Alfa Romeo's engine won't crank or cranks very slowly, then the most likely culprit is a weak or dead 12V battery. Investigating more closely and doing a battery voltage test will clarify whether the starting problem is due to the battery. A test can be done to measure the voltage between the battery poles. Check the acid level, and assess the condition of the starter battery. If a new car battery has been installed, the battery may not have yet reached its full capacity. There is nothing to worry about. A new battery only develops its full capacity over time. You can test the voltage of your Alfa Romeo battery using a multimeter on positive and negative terminals provided under the hood. Broken starter motor. A starter is a motor for starting the engine of your Alfa Romeo. The average life of a starter motor is about 100.000 to 150.000 miles. And the life will be shortened if the engine is started more frequently. In any case, since the starter motor also has a limited life, it will break down after using the car for a long time. And if the starter motor breaks down, the engine will not start. Symptom when you turn the key to start the engine of Alfa Romeo. You will hear a clicking sound, which is the sound of a bad starter motor. And if the starter motor does not work with a healthy battery, suspect a malfunction of the starter. If the starter fails, it usually needs to be replaced with a new one. Defective alternator. An alternator is a generator that produces electricity. If your Alfa Romeo's alternator fails, it will not be able to produce electricity and the battery will not be able to charge. Therefore, even if you think that the cause of the engine not starting is a battery failure and replacing the battery will soon run out and the engine will not start. Alternators rarely break down. In particular, modern cars have improved performance, so it is said that they will last 200.000 to 300.000 miles. Still, it can break down depending on how you use it. And in the case of a used car, the alternator may be quite old. Don't let your guard down. If the alternator breaks down, it must be replaced with a new alternator. Fuel pump failure. If your Alfa Romeo's fuel pump fails, then the engine won't start. The pump normally ensures that the necessary amount of fuel is passed from the tank to the injection system of the engine with sufficient pressure. Before your fuel pump stops working, it usually becomes noticeable if your car's engine breaks down from time to time. The car is difficult to start. The engine jerks a little or the engine performance drops. You should have your pump checked. Wear or contamination of the pump can be the reason for this. If the pump is leaking, a power contact is broken, a line or a pump lever is broken, the fuel pump is usually also noticeable before failure. You can have a defective fuel pump replaced in your workshop. Defective spark plugs. Without functioning spark plugs, the engine will not start. The spark plugs themselves are often not affected by a defect. Instead, plug connections on the ignition system come loose. If only one plug is actually loose, you can fix the problem yourself on site. If a spark plug has failed, it must be replaced in the workshop. Blown fuse. In rare cases, a blown fuse could also be the culprit in the breakdown of your Alfa Romeo. Check all fuses in the fuse box essential for starting the engine. But be careful when lending a hand yourself to the fuse box. The box is under power and repairs or tests should always be done in a workshop. SourceWheelsJoint.com